The preseason schedule nearly underway with the Hall of Fame game. Let's talk Hall of Fame. The 2025 class. Is the Hall of Fame watered down, and who improved this season in the preseason as we get ready for the 2025 regular season on today's Peacock and Williamson?
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Love our everydayers. Thanks for hanging with us. And if you're new to the program, welcome. Please subscribe on YouTube and anywhere you are listening to this podcast. And we're here. Football kicking off a little bit later this evening as we record this on Thursday, the Hall of Fame game. We'll have our thoughts from it, if there are any. I know we always get excited about it. And then you start watching after about a quarter. You're like, okay, I might need to be doing something else. Matt, I believe, is a date at Sharky's to be watching that.
It'll be on the TVs at least.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's the perfect environment to watch the Hall of Fame game. It's kind of on, but it's over there. It's
not I'm sitting around with some football people that if I miss a play, they'd be like, "Oh, this happened. Thanks."
Be like, "Oh, look, Trey Lance, Hendon Hooker. They don't look so bad.
Right?
Oh, they look awful, or they look amazing, right?" So that'll be fun. We'll get into that stuff tomorrow and whatever else is going on in the NFL. Let's start with the Hall of Fame class. And we've had a couple of Hall of Fame questions in the mailbags, and this is a mailbag episode, by the way, so appreciate all the questions on our Thursday mailbags. Always, you can get your questions in whenever you think of them. Hit me or Matt on Twitter at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL, or drop a question in the YouTube comments. But I've had some questions in here for a while, and there's two different Hall of Fame questions. And then we can give our thoughts as well on this 2025 Hall of Fame class that kind of is part of this. One of the questions is, and I'm paraphrasing this question just because I've had it saved forever and I'm not actually looking at it right now because I'm looking at the more recent questions. But the question is, we've been putting it off for a while, so I want to get to it. I believe Mr. Controversy himself is the one that dropped this question a while back, in a couple of different ways, actually, over the last month or two. So he knows I've always preached that I'm kind of a small Hall of Fame guy. And so his question is, okay, well, who would you take out of the Hall of Fame? Like, who are the worst Hall of Famers then? If it's a small hall and there's guys that shouldn't be there, who are those players? And so that's a little bit more difficult for me because, players get their shine. And I like it when players get that call and they're crying about it. And it obviously means a lot to them to be in the Hall of Fame. So I want to be here, be the guy that's like, oh, Jared Allen, you're not a Hall of Famer. You don't belong there. You make the whole thing worse because you're in that group, right? Even though I might not think that he should be a Hall of Famer. So my real answer to that is like nearly half of them maybe shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Because if it's that difficult of a conversation, then to me, that means you're not a Hall of Famer. A Hall of Famer is, yep, that's a Hall of Famer. And that's the end of the discussion.
I think that's the easiest test of all.
Yeah.
Is he a Hall of Famer? Then no.
Well, maybe, Well, look, if this guy's in, this guy's in, you got to look at this. Here's
Right.
If you have to build a case like you're a lawyer, then it should be a lot easier than that, in my opinion.
I tend to agree. But the league disagrees with you, and I'm kind of on your side as well. That it should be a little more exclusive. So I will say, we're looking at this current class. I think it's a very underwhelming class too. Eric Allen, Jared Allen, Antonio Gates, Sterling Sharp. Now, I think Gates got screwed that he didn't get in a year ago. So I think he's an easy one. I thought he was a difference maker, one of the better tight ends we've ever seen. But frankly, I would lean towards no on the other three. I mean, so if we just kind of focus on recency, there was a stretch there where Jerome Bettis, Terrell Davis, and Curtis Martin all got in around the same time. And I kind of looked at them as like the Mendoza, Kirk Cousins line we talked about. Like, frankly, the Mendoza line is much lower than the Kirk Cousins line. Mendoza's line is a terrible line.
More like a 300 hitter, but with not a lot of power. The Mendoza line is like you're barely in the big leagues.
You can't even be in the league, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of thought those three running backs were as borderline as you can get. Like if those three get in, fine, but they're the worst running backs out there. They're not Peyton. They're not Earl Campbell. They're not OJ. They're not Falk. They're really, really good players. But if that's our line, either to be the worst Hall of Famers or the best almost Hall of Famers, I thought that was a good line of demarcation. Frankly, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. You finish your point.
Okay. Frankly, Bill Cowher to me isn't a Hall of Fame coach. He's one that went in sort of recently. I think he's Steeler Ring of Honor guy. Fine. But I never thought he was the best. It was Belichick or Walsh or Reed or even Tomlin for that matter. Just in guys that I think have stronger cases. I also think there's been a rash of safeties that have gone in lately, including your GM, Lynch, Atwater, some of these guys where that's not Troy or Reed. That's not Lott. I need a safety that blows my doors off, at that position. Like, man, I am not throwing over the middle on that guy. Or, boy, he can just man up on the best tight ends in the league. And all these players we're talking about are great. I think that goes without saying. I'm not hating. But I think in the last 10 years, I could come up with a pretty long list of ones that are borderline at best.
Right. And they're really good players. And that's why it's harder for me to just call out names and be like, this guy's not a Hall of Famer, because they're great players and they deserve accolades and it's important to them. And I don't want to rain on their parade. And it is, I think that's a great way to put it, like retired numbers and Ring of Honor. And your name is in the rafters for your specific team that you played for a long time. But like, did you change? The league was altered because you were in it. Right. A coach that other, did other teams change the way they played to either mimic or go against Bill Cowher's teams, because of how he coached it? Not necessarily
because of him. Right.
Right.
Defense coordinator was strong. They good rosters.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. But then you start to get these, and again, it becomes a courtroom, and it's like, well, here's this evidence. So you have to put him in because this guy got in and he had this thing and this thing. And this guy got a ring. So now he has to go in. This quarterback, this player didn't have a ring. So even though he was this, he doesn't get in, but he should be in because he got to this number that this guy over here got in because he got this many yards. And then it just becomes every time you put in a new player that's a borderline player, then now you say, oh, okay, well, that opens up the door for this 10 guys because they match up with this other thing on this guy and he got in. So then I think it just kind of feeds into itself and automatically waters itself down, because not only do you keep adding more members, obviously, which is a good thing. You want to keep adding people to the Hall of Fame, but you also dilute it more because it's easier to collect stats in a lot of cases. And then you're comparing stats to other guys. And as long as you hit this number, well, now you have the resume that says you should get in because you can match this thing.
Like there's a saying in the scouting world that once we start taking outliers, guys that aren't tall enough to ride the ride, big enough to ride the ride, our speed requirements, then it's easy to take the next one. Then before you know, you have a team full of outliers that are, boy, we're really small all of a sudden. We used to be a big physical team and we got away from that. Like the Giants used to be Parcells, you had to be this big to ride the ride. And then they kind of just got away from that, because make one exception, then you make the next. And you're right. Eras change. You can't just be like, well, X amount of receiving yards gets you in. Well, receiving yards are easier to come by now than they were in the 70s and 80s,
And sometimes it's unfortunate. Like Sterling Sharp. Right. It's a really short career. And he was awesome. Did he have a Hall of Fame career? I don't know that he did. And then Eric Allen and Jared Allen are kind of similar. It's like, okay, Hall of very good, put their number in the rafters. You remember them for their specific franchises, but was the history of the game altered because of those players? And, it takes you so long to get in, probably for a reason. So most of these cases where guys are like waiting forever to get in, well, they probably shouldn't have belonged in. And maybe the guys you're comparing them to that are in, maybe those guys didn't belong in either.
Right. This guy's 2% less than what really takes, and okay, that's fine. But then the next guy's 2% less than that one. Like you mentioned the Hall of Very Good. Like recent Saints come to mind. Like the Honey Badger just retired. DeMario Davis, Cameron Jordan's the best example ever. Kamara, none of them are Hall of Famers, but they should be all over their Ring of Honor or retired numbers or whatever. They're all-time great saints. You know what I mean?
And that's kind of my
awesome.
last thing about the Hall of Fame in general. And I'm going to get into another specific player that was brought up in our mailbag. That's kind of the thing with the Hall of Fame, is that it's so personal that's why I don't even want to argue about it or name names.
Right. Someone's going to get mad at you for bringing up.
I don't even like the Hall of Fame conversation because it's so personal. Like, to me, if we do the baseball thing again, or actually we can use football too, Roger Craig. I don't think Roger Craig should be in the Hall of Fame. But growing up, Roger Craig was my dude. And so he's in my personal Hall of Fame. And that's what matters to me. In baseball, it's Will Clark. I took 1,000 hacks with the wiffle ball bat in the backyard batting left-handed, and I can hit left-handed to this day because of Will Clark, because I wanted to mimic his swing. Like, that altered the way I watch sports to me personally. Did he change the game? Does he belong in the Hall of Fame? Probably not, but he's in my personal Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's great.
That's different. So I can see why fans of teams would want to fight for their guy to be in. That doesn't mean they belong in.
Doesn't mean Will Clark's one of the best 12 first basemen that ever lived. You know,
right. Yeah,
of course.
Although I would like to see the alternate history where Will Clark did the steroid thing like half the rest of the league did throughout the late 80s and into the 90s. He might have put up a better resume to be in the Hall of Fame too.
I don't envy people that do what we do, having to talk about baseball Hall of Fame because of that era. You know, when Len Dykstra is all of a sudden a leadoff hitter who's now hitting like 1 million home runs and doesn't even look like the same human being. You know?
Oh my God! And how many guys that were all roided up are in the NFL Hall of Fame, but we just don't. It's not as taboo. It's not as talked about, right, as the baseball Hall of Fame. And
I'll be the first to admit, like the Super 70 Steelers. Yeah. I mean, roids were apparently a big thing. That was before my time, but they also weren't illegal yet.
Yeah, they kind of got ahead of the game a little
bit. Right. I mean, they were not illegal in the league or in society.
Right.
You know, so
learning about it.
That would be like if beer was the magic cure for making you a better football player.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
next, Lavonte David. Is he a Hall of Famer by today's standards? And who are the most improved teams by division in the NFL? Next. Time to fuel up. Turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. And I know it helps me out to have a 5-hour energy game through the back nine. I've been trying to walk a lot. So walking all 18 holes, it shouldn't be as difficult as it is. But sometimes I'm like, man, I really do need to pick me up. And certainly a transfusion with alcohol is not going to do it for me at that point. Probably make the game worse, right? But a 5-hour energy, an alcohol-free beverage with the same flavors, but a pick-me-up. Now that's what we're talking about to get me through the back nine. And man, if you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com. You can use our promo code Locked On Golf to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. And whether you are just meeting up with friends to have a nice little round of golf, trying to turn 18 into 36 holes, get the energizing boost you need to power through. That is the transfusion flavored 5-hour energy. Order transfusion flavored 5-hour energy shots today. So, Lavonte David, he's another really good example of a player that I think by today's standards probably starts to have a good argument to be in the Hall of Fame. My immediate response to Lavonte David is, man, really nice career, but not a Hall of Famer. What do you think about Lavonte David? Because this is an old question that we've been asked a couple of times. And he's probably an underrated player, and he actually has a better case than I think most people might expect, because you don't really hear him talked about like that. But he's been one of the better linebackers in the NFL. But again, he hasn't been on the I would not put him on the Patrick Willis,
Kuechly, Wagner,
right? And those are the Hall of Fame guys, and those are the guys that are going to get in. I don't think Lavonte David will or necessarily should get in, but I would agree that he is an underrated player. Probably he's just a tier below those guys.
Yeah, because I'm mostly with you, not as strong as you are. Of it should be a short answer. Is he a Hall of Famer? Yes. Now, I don't think David qualifies as that.
Mm-hmm.
And even Willis took a little bit of prodding. Like I was always in that camp, but there people had strong arguments against him because he wasn't, it didn't have the longevity.
Mm-hmm.
But like those names you mentioned, Wagner, Kuechly, Willis, I'm gonna throw Warner in there. Just guys in the last 15 years that are the best off the ball linebackers in the league. David would be behind all of those. Now, I also think that position's a little light and getting lighter. Like if you're the 5th best wide receiver is more impressive than being the 5th best off the ball linebacker, because I just think there's not as many studs. You know what I mean? The days of Singletary and Urlacher and Lambert and Butkus. I mean, like it's not as glorified a position as it was like when I was a kid, so I do think the bar can come down at that position a little where it has to go up with like a wide receiver. So I'm really on the fence with him. I think he might be the hardest answer to that question. No brainer, Ring of Honor Buccaneer, of course, like an all-time great Buck. If they retired his number, I'd be like, cool, congratulations. You've earned every bit of that. And I don't know that he's going to add to his resume. I mean, even if he was just like a hanger-oner and they won the Super Bowl this year, I guess that would help. But maybe he gets one more Pro Bowl. But, he's not going to be the best linebacker in the league. He's not going to be an all-pro. So I'm avoiding the question like crazy. I really think he's a 50-50 coin flip.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that he could potentially get in, in the Jared Allen, Eric Allen conversation years down the road.
I might pick him over those two.
And here's the thing, though. I think we're now at a spot where I think those guys that got in, and I think maybe the entire class for 2025, they needed to get in now because it's going to start getting more difficult because all these quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And I think we might be less watered down over the next 5 Hall of Fame classes just because
Great point.
There's going to be bigger names and it's going to be harder to get in. If it was hard already to get in, imagine if there's Mannings and Brady and Breeze and Roethlisberger and, Phillip Rivers is going to be a tough conversation. Phillip Rivers deserves it as much as Eric Allen or Jared Allen, right? And I don't think Rivers should probably get in. I don't know if I think that I think Eli Manning's going to get in because he has 2 rings. I don't know if he should be a Hall of Famer though.
I think Eli will get in, and I would not vote for him. I think Rivers has a stronger case, and I would vote for him. But not to mention, there's all the Larry Fitzgeralds and Donalds and Gronks, and I mean, there's no-brainers all over the place.
Calvin Johnson?
He went 2 years ago, I think.
Okay, God, it's already been that long for Calvin Johnson. That's
I know,
jeez.
But there's a lot. I mean, let alone like the Big Bens and the Breeze, and Rodgers isn't going to be that far away. I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks coming up.
That's a great example, though. Calvin Johnson's one of those where it's like he's up and he's in, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's
forget about it. Right.
That's the Hall of Fame right there.
That's a Hall of Famer. But there's a lot of no-brainers on the horizon these next couple of years.
And there's going to be fewer of those guys that were on the cusp and guys that were hoping to hear their names called that are going to. Frank Gore is going to be an interesting one. He's number 3 rusher all time.
Yeah. He's a real tough one. Like I almost brought up Art Monk, but I just didn't think people would even remember.
Yeah, that was a big one forever. I think in Major League Baseball, it's Rafael Palmeiro.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a compiler.
Yeah.
Maybe he's the 8th best receiver most years.
Good year, maybe for a long time. And you look at their numbers, and you're like, well, his numbers career-wise are better than a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame. So how do you not put him in?
But I lean towards no, unlike an Art Monk.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Gore's best days were better than Art Monk's best days. And longevity at running back's harder than longevity at wide receiver.
I was insane. I think it was 2 ACLs, right, for Frank Gore to have both
at Miami, right?
At that position, 2 ACLs before he got into the NFL, and have that longevity at that position at running back. What a wild career he had.
What a wild career. But is that Hall of Fame worthy?
But he was never the best running back in the league. He was kind of it's Lavonte David like, I think, as far as not Adrian Peterson, but he was really good. He was in the next tier of like one of the better running backs when he was in his prime, but he was never the best running back in the NFL. But he's number 3 all time in rushing. So Eli and Gore are going to get in because they have some key stats behind him.
Mm-hmm. And David has the longevity too, obviously. Back to that.
Who are the most improved teams in the NFL by division? Do you have one team, Matt, that is the most improved in the entire NFL?
It's funny because this came up recently on my Steelers show. I think the Raiders are the most improved organization. And by that, I mean ownership, general manager, coach, getting back to relevance. On the field, I think the Bears have a strong case. obviously some bad teams have nowhere to go but up. The Patriots have a strong case, that they're terrible to okay. You know what I mean?
Those are some good ones. Let's go division by division. Who are the most improved teams in the NFL? Just because we've recently gone through every division, let's put our stamp on the most improved teams in the NFL by division next. This episode of Peacock Williamson brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings, you're planning a big purchase, maybe it's your first home, maybe you're saving up to buy a car, maybe you are saving up for retirement, maybe it's to pay for college. Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, shared accounts, personal accounts with your spouse, with your partner, which is very key, investments, and all your spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use our promo code LockedOnNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LockedOnNFL for half off your first year. Let's go to the AFC West because I think the Raiders are really interesting. Some drama with the Christian Wilkins story and releasing him, but kind of a statement in the way that they released him was like, not only are we going to release this guy, we just signed for a 4 years, $100 million plus contract the year before. That wasn't us that signed him. And so we're not worried about it. And we're going to go after his guarantees because we don't think he's meeting our standard of how we are going to do things here. And in his first press conference at training camp, Pete Carroll made the statement for everyone to hear, including all of his opponents. And he even said the words, I don't care who hears it. We're going to win games. We are going to win games. And I don't care who hears it. And he's like, I win 10 games every year. What are you talking to me about anything about not winning? Of course we are going to win. So I think you're right about organizational changes, and it's a tough division. So what will that look like in wins and losses in year one? They've upgraded at quarterback, which is really important. They got a big time playmaker in the draft as well. So, the talent has been upgraded, but the mindset is really
the mindset, the standard, ownership, GM, all the way down the line. Again, I'm around Tomlin all the time, and it's like, of course I'm going to win 9 or 10 games. It's just, Carroll's the same way. Harbaugh, Peyton in that division too. Like, of course I'm going to. Peyton took over a terrible situation, wins 9, then is in the playoffs. I don't think the Raiders. I think the Raiders are still 4th, but I think they're the most improved.
Speaking of Hall of Fame, has there ever been a division of all Hall of Fame coaches? And
that's hilarious. I brought that up 1 hour ago on the radio. I said that division might all go to the Hall of Fame. And like Harbaugh's got work to do. The other 3 might be in already.
He needs more time, but if
he
continues to do what he has done, he will get it.
Yeah. I mean,
rings are important and those types of things. But
but he has a lot of time. I mean, he's not retiring the next 5 years, probably.
AFC, where are we at? AFC East.
Patriots.
Yeah, gotta be. Just
gotta be. I mean, just going from awful to average would be huge.
The coaching staff and then the quarterback year 2 with all the
things, a legit O-line. Yeah.
That one's pretty easy. AFC North. Who's the most improved? Is Aaron Rodgers? Because
I think there's a case for that. But I think I'd go back to our Ravens conversation and say Ravens.
The Ravens are already good and already division champs. So like
it's hard to be the number 1 team to be improved. Yeah. But I mean, we had that conversation and I had a hard time coming up with any negatives. I mean, I have fewer concerns about the Ravens than ever. This could be their year. I've been leaning towards them being my Super Bowl pick. But it's definitely between those 2 teams. I mean, a slightly improved defense and a majorly improved quarterback would go a long way in Pittsburgh.
Unless the real argument for, and they're getting some guys in camp now, which is important for the Bengals for the defense. That's the big question. Do they stop anybody? Because they couldn't last year.
I don't think they will.
Was Lou Anarumo so awful as a defensive coordinator that's all they needed to change, and they'll be so much better on defense? I mean, that's really
I'm open to that possibility.
The only argument.
That's the only argument, right?
Yeah. AFC South.
Tennessee or Jacksonville? I mean, Tennessee goes from the first pick in the draft. So again,
I don't think they're going to win that much, though.
I don't either. I don't think he's going to be Jaden Daniels or Stroud in his rookie year. But I'm going to go with the Jags. Again, kind of a culture change, head coach. Maybe the quarterback now is in a position where he can be an asset, be the 10th best quarterback in the league.
The Texans were a 10-win team last year. I might say the Texans.
If it wasn't the O-line questions, I definitely would say the Texans.
It's true. I just think
there's not an obvious one in this division.
A little more injury luck, and I just think they could be like a true, like, oh no, the Texans are like not only good team, best in their division. They're like, oh no, the Texans are like with the Ravens and the Chiefs and the Bills. Like, could they be in that category at the end of this?
I think they have a coach, quarterback, defense, and receivers. That's a pretty good start.
NFC West, I mean, record-wise, the 49ers had so many injuries that a 6-win team, I think it's easy to say, okay, who's going to improve the most amount of wins? It could be the 49ers and them not even have the best season, but, improving 4 or 5 wins is a lot per year in the NFL. But as far as like where they were in July versus where they are in July now,
I was looking at it.
I'd probably have to go with the Arizona Cardinals.
Me too. I think the defense is now real. See, if it wasn't for Geno to Darnold, I would probably say Seattle. But I don't think that's an upgrade. It might be a parallel move, but I don't think it's an upgrade.
NFC East.
Maybe the Giants, but I don't think it's going to save their jobs or win any more games. Like, they have a defensive front now. They're definitely better at quarterback. It's not great, but it's better. I also lean towards Dallas.
Yeah, I think Dallas
is a nice pickup and an O-line, some O-line upgrades.
A healthy Dak and run it back, and the Cowboys have to be better almost automatically. And I have fewer questions with Dallas than I do the Giants, even though I do love that front seven in New York.
Oh, I think Dallas is better than Giants.
The Giants had a good front seven last year.
Yes.
It's maybe better, but it was still not. It's not like they went from nothing to an awesome defensive front.
I'm leaning towards taking the Giants not only to win the playoffs, but maybe come in second in that division. To get into playoffs, but maybe to come in second in that division.
The New York Giants. Oh, wow. I don't think I can go there.
But Dallas, not the Giants.
Oh, Dallas. Okay.
Yeah, I think the Giants should be fourth, but I think they could be better, but their record might not show it, and their unemployment might not show it.
Yeah.
So North and South.
The North and South. So the North is an easy one. It's got to be the Chicago Bears, right?
Has to be, yeah. I mean, can they compete with those other 3 really good teams?
And that leaves us with the NFC South. Atlanta Falcons.
I was thinking, could they have a pass rush?
Yeah.
Quarterback bump. It's not the Saints. I don't think it's Carolina. And I don't know if Tampa's better. Yeah, I'm going to go with Atlanta. Yeah. Hopefully one of those pass rushers makes a difference.
I think that's definitely the way to go. We got a few more good questions that I think are going to tie in a little bit more with a post Hall of Fame game episode on Friday's show. And I do think there's not going to be a full show of breaking down the Hall of Fame game.
Not if you're counting on it from me.
Yeah. And so what are scouts doing during training camp during this portion of the off season? Some other team building questions. There's a story about Matthew Stafford that's kind of going underreported right now. I think we'll get into all those things on tomorrow's episode. And whatever news and noteworthy, I'm excited to see some of the young players on the Chargers and the Lions in the Hall of Fame game. And so whatever there is to report on from that game, we'll get into on tomorrow's episode as well. So tune in. Make sure you subscribed up on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcast. Appreciate all the questions. Keep them coming to us on Twitter or in the YouTube comments. And Matt and I will be back tomorrow right here, Peacock and Williamson.